Americans are indeed literally the grandmaster of hybrid warfare. They have multiple layers on Iran. First one was last year, the end of the 2025. I believe it was American intelligence community that instigated the internal revolt on the street of Tehran and all the other big cities across Iran. Layer 2, Americans have deployed tremendous military assets into that region. Americans have invited the son of last Shah into the Munich Security Conference, and the guy was making public announcement to appeal to the Iranian people. I mean, think about this. It is a three-layer approach to tackle Iran. Americans are indeed the master of the hybrid warfare. On the one side, you want to be, anti-American imperialism, which I support that. But on the other side, you want to appeal to the Americans. There is no middle ground here. The younger factions of the IRGC or even the clergy class will come to power, and they might just strike a deal with Americans. For the strategic situation, that is a dim outcome for both China and Russia, because without such an important ally in the Middle East, we will lose, some pillar of power in that region, especially given, as I said, the future struggle is coming in this entire world.
Let's talk about Iran. Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince of the late Shah in Iran, was also at the Munich Security Conference. What do you think is the American regime change agenda in Iran?
Okay, I have to say this. Americans, very funny, Americans and Europeans, they've always criticized Russia as the master of the hybrid warfare. But honestly, look at this. Americans' approach on Iran. Americans are indeed literally the grandmaster of hybrid warfare. They have multiple layers on Iran. First one was last year, the end of the 2025. I believe it was American intelligence community that instigated the internal revolt on the street of Tehran and all the other big cities across Iran. You've seen the videos. It was a huge and very massive scale revolt against the regime of Khamenei. Layer 2, Americans have deployed tremendous military assets into that region. 2 carrier strike groups in the Arabian Sea, the Persian Gulf, and then dozens of the military fuel tankers, dozens of the bomber squadrons, and F-35 stealth fighters, all into that region. I think Americans now have at least amassed dozens of F-35 stealth fighter jets in the bases of Jordan. That's layer 2. Then layer 3, Americans have invited the son of last Shah into the Munich Security Conference, and the guy was making public announcement to appeal to the Iranian people. I mean, think about this. It is a three-layer approach to tackle Iran, or to instigate, to promote this regime change in that nation. So Americans are indeed the master of the hybrid warfare. You could see their agenda. Their agenda has been clearer than ever. Trump has said it. Let's negotiate, and you have to meet our demands. If not, we will see what happens. Honestly, I do feel concerned about the Iranian regime because as a Chinese, supposedly I should be a natural ally to Iran, but that nation, they have been failing our expectations. That nation is like a sway nation. On the one side, they want to stay true to their Islamic belief, but I don't think that's the case anymore. It's like their own clergy class are not that fundamentalist anymore, while they also suffer from this gerontocracy. Their supreme leader Khamenei, the guy is 86 plus years old, and I heard he's sick. I mean, I don't care if it's a democratic nation or authoritarian nation. That I don't care, but there has to be a arranged succession of power, or the distribution of power that could be into the more wiser hands. So if Iran does not tackle these issues, I think the downfall of that region, or at least the downfall of Khamenei, will be apparent or inevitable. I heard there's like certain younger factions within the IRGC that wants to rise up, which I could resonate with their passions. Okay, but going back to the Americans' point, Americans are indeed the mastermind behind this hybrid approach. We don't know if the younger Shah could actually come to power, but at least I think it does have some impact on the current Iranian regime.
Okay, so compared to North Korea in 2017, which reached a deal with Trump, do you see age as a factor in enabling Kim Jong-un to make a better deal with the Americans?
Speaking of Kim, this guy is such a tremendous figure. You know, some people say this guy is literally one of the wisest, one of the smartest leaders around the world right now. Think about this. I mean, North Korea is not a huge nation, but he somehow could manage the relationship with China, with Russia, and with Americans, and plus with South Korea as well. The guy is such a genius, and he has the nukes. I think that's the critical part here. He knows that he has to get hold of the nukes. It's like only having a big stick can grant you a winning seat on the table. I mean, Trump is a realistic and pragmatic guy. He respects the strength. And Kim Jong-un, I think he understands that principle, and he also respects the strength from Trump as well. So somehow these two people, they have the chemistry. Iran is, as I said, stuck in the middle. On the one side, you want to be, anti-American imperialism, which I support that. But on the other side, you want to appeal to the Americans. There is no middle ground here. If you want to be bold like Kim Jong-un, North Korea is what you get. You will get the regime stability, and you will get the respect from your counterparts, which is the Americans and Europeans as well. But if you swing in the middle and not be decisive, not have the resolution, you will end up like Gaddafi. And we've all seen what happened to that guy. It was horrible. I think that was 2011. You have to recall the video that coming out of that nation. When Gaddafi fell, his body was dragged on the street by other people. That was brutal, right?
Yep.
So, again, I think if you want to be a true leader, be like Kim Jong-un. Don't be like Gaddafi.
Okay, suppose this attack on Iran took place. What do you think the situation will look like? Does Iran stand a chance?
Well, I think it depends on how you say if Iran stand a chance. I think if it's American ground invasion, Iran does stand a chance because apparently Iran is a huge nation. Its size is over twice that of Ukraine. It's almost like 80%, 70% of India. So it is a huge nation. It is, the mighty empire of Persia before, right? It is a huge nation. So American ground invasion likely will not, bring the successful result it wanted, and it might just end up in another Vietnam quagmire. But if it's only American air campaign and the sea-launched air campaign or the special operations raid or the combination of all these three, plus the Israeli ground campaigns and the air offensives, the current regime might just fall. And even if the current regime does not fall, I think Khamenei has to go. So there will be a regime change. Internal forces-wise, there is no strong enough opposition parties or opposition factions that is living within Iran right now that is able to replace the entire regime. But the younger factions of the IRGC or even the clergy class will come to power, and they might just strike a deal with Americans. I wouldn't say they will be pro-America, but likely they will strike a neutral deal with Americans so that Iran will not harm the interests of Israel, and Iran will not realistically and materially ally with Russia and China. So I mean, for the strategic situation, that is a dim outcome for both China and Russia, because without such an important ally in the Middle East, we will lose, some pillar of power in that region, especially given, as I said, the future struggle is coming in this entire world, in the entire Eurasian continent. Iran will be a very vital player. So once Americans induce a regime change in Iran, the situation will become a bit more dire for both China and Russia, which personally I don't like, but that is the harsh reality. I think the fault goes to Iran because last year they had a chance. Last year they had a chance to stand up. When the Americans strike them with the Operation Midnight Hammer, they could have mobilized the entire national front to against the both Western imperialism and Israeli imperialism. But they chose not to. They had toned down the situation. They were too moderate. But in this world of great transformation, moderation is the last thing you want to have. You either stand on this spectrum or on the other side. But either way, you have to have your own firm belief, your firm standing, and stand with your own ground, and do not flinch a bit.
Okay, suppose if Iran stands the ground and retaliates against the Americans, what would be the regional consequence for the Middle East?
The regional consequences, I think, if Iranians actually counter against the Americans, I think the whole Middle East will be destabilized. That destabilization will go all the way to places like those Gulf nations, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, you name it. The entire region will be destabilized, and the spillover effect, they will have more like different multi-ethnic groups. They will have their own internal civil wars, internal strifes. They have Kurds, Armenians, Persians, Arabs, and all these people. I think the region will be destabilized, and the effect will even spill over to the entire world, because we have to recall this. Gulf nations, Iranians, they produce the oils. Anything happens with that critical choke point on the oil pipeline, any fluctuation, any significant fluctuation on oil prices, will affect the entire world. It will first affect the Americans. Will also affect us, the Chinese, because we do import the oil from that region. So the entire world will just like heading toward more chaos. And more chaos means a higher possibility of greater conflicts, more parties involved in this global struggle, in this global war, right? I don't want to yet call it the World War III, but it sounds quite likely. It sounds quite like an eventual outcome. But again, I think we should not flinch. If the global war or the World War III is the destined outcome of the historical progress, if it is a necessary part of the historical evolution in the 21st century, be it.
Okay, so last question on Iran. Last year in the leaked signal chat by Pete Hegseth, I think J.D. Vance talked about what's the point of America fighting against the Houthis since it does not benefit America. So do you think there will be isolationist voices in America opposing the war in Iran?
I think JD has a point here. Be honest, I've seen that signal chat as well. It's kind of funny, but Pete and JD, they all have a point here, because Iran is not a natural enemy to the United States. Israel is a natural enemy to Iran. So apparently the American foreign policy in the Middle East is highly influenced by two things. I think first is the state of Israel and the AIPAC, the IPAC, the AIPAC, their the lobby influence on the American foreign policy. The second point of interest Americans have in the Middle East is the oil. We all know it. That's why they have the term called petrodollar, right? So even if there's like internal voices from JD or Pete Hegseth, from the current trend, you could see that Americans are not abandoning their allies in that region. So the confrontation will be likely. And plus, Trump has shouting the war drums for so long. I don't think he will just like back down again. Some people call tackle again. He might tackle again, but he will not tackle without a great deal out of it. Trump is a great negotiator. I've actually personally read about his book, The Art of the Deal, even though not as good, not as philosophical as our Chinese book called The Art of the War, but at least Art of the Deal had some contents in it. So, of course, there will be isolationist forces within America that is against the American military involvement, direct confrontation with Iran. But I think the inertia of the historical trajectory is too strengthful that America will engage in that conflict with Iran. It's only a matter of when and how. It is not a matter of if.